What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about a very interesting law that has passed in the United States, technically in California. Technically, this really only applies to California, but look, I do think it's actually interesting. I do think it is I guess I would call it a win for like physical versus digital. I don't know how much it'll move the needle. That's kind of what we're here to discuss in this video. So look, we're not here to talk politics. I did not expect something like this. I don't really expect any government to, just talking games. I'm not here to preach about anything else. When it comes to gaming, I don't really know if I trust any government to make any like right decision to like forward the gaming movement, right? I mean, like you had, I think was the UK, whoever it was that roasted EA that one time about loot boxes, and they called them whatever, like the surprise, kind of like gimmicks and stuff, that, oh, they're just surprise machines or whatever the heck that they said. That was like one of the only good roasts that we've ever gotten through like legal proceedings, right? So what we're here to talk about is actually, again, a law signed in California, and it pretty much makes companies label games digitally that you do not own the game. So here's the IGN thing. California Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a bill into law that will force storefronts to admit that you don't actually own your digitally purchased games, films, and TV shows. You're just licensing them. And I read that kind of as a burn because, because it actually kind of sounds aggressive, or maybe I'm putting my own, bias, into it. But I really like that. Now look, again, in all seriousness, it's one state. There's quite a few of them in the United States. It's one state, and it doesn't, right now, it doesn't do all that much, right? But, like, does it spark a conversation? And that might be cringy or kind of cliche to say, I don't know. But it is interesting that we're even getting it, because here's the one positive angle I would take from it, right? This is something that me, personally, and others, but, I can only speak for myself. I've been saying this for a long time. We have been outright told that we don't own things, right? If you want to get more into that kind of stuff, we have been told about not owning stuff. But specifically for games, literally for gaming, we just had a Ubisoft, a spokesman, whatever, like the lead of the streaming and subscription kind of stuff. He even said, right, that you don't own the game, you're not going to own the games, you're going to, get used to that, you'll like that kind of stuff. We are literally being told this stuff directly to our face. It shouldn't be a surprise. It shouldn't catch anybody off guard. It's something that's just out there. And it's cool, though, to finally see something legally, I guess, that, I guess it confronts it a little bit, right? But it kind of puts it in front of your face. Like, I think just reading that maybe, like, awakens a couple people, right? Because in reality, we don't, and this gets more than just video games, so I don't really think it's politics. I think it's kind of like real life, so excuse it for now. But you really don't own a lot digitally. You own nothing digitally. When you have your subscription services to Spotify, I guess maybe if you download them, right? But if you're like listening to it through Spotify, you own none of those songs. You own, even, and I guess I would take it a step further, especially with games, because we've been proven wrong on this. Even if you own a game, you don't really own it, right? You can buy The Crew or The Crew 2, whichever. The Ubisoft one actually is a good recent example. They took the game from you. Concord was a little bit different because they refunded you first, right? So some games don't do that. Some games, you buy the game, they shut it down, and so you own it, but you really don't. It's a screen, or it's a block on your screen, and you click it, and it does literally nothing because the game has shut down. Sometimes the game will literally be removed from the storefronts. Now, Concord did that, right? Concord refunded your money and then literally took the game from you. Now, that kind of is fair, and it kind of makes sense, because if they're giving you the money back, you shouldn't have the game anymore. But it's not the first time that has happened. It's the first, it's one of the first times. Think about like a PT, for example, right? That's a good example. There's a lot. There's actually more than you might think of games that have just been kind of removed from us. And that's the most, like, I guess, exaggerated versions or the exaggerated examples. But in reality, just think about it for a second. Like, yeah, it's true. We don't. I have to stop saying you, because it's me too. I have a lot of digital games. I actually don't. Many of us, we have digital games, but we actually don't. You're just paying to have them on your screen. You're paying to be able to play them. But honestly, at a minute's notice, anything could happen that shuts that thing down. Like, your account could get hacked. If your account gets hacked and taken away from you, you don't have that game anymore. If my account gets hacked right now and I have the game physically, I still have the game physically. I can get another play. Now, I guess, okay, maybe you can get another PlayStation, but then will your account, because if it's hacked, will you be able to get it over? It's easier to have it physically. So, again, I don't know how much of a win is it for game preservation. Not too much, but at least it brings it to the forefront. I think just reading it should, wake people up, wake some people up. And then also, in terms of, what it could actually do, could it be helpful? Hopefully, maybe a little bit, right? Because you imagine it is such a sick burn. It does, actually kind of hurt when you read that line, on Twitter that IGN did. So if you go on the PlayStation, if you're in California, see, this is the issue, because it's just one state, right? But if you go, and you're on your PlayStation in California, and you go to buy, pick your favorite game, pick Astrobot, right? And on Astrobot, on the PlayStation Store, it tells you in bold print, you won't own this. You're spending $60. And I mean, I love Astrobot, so I shouldn't throw it under the bus. But any game, you're buying this game, you're spending $60. This game is not yours. You do not own it. You're licensing it. That's all you're doing. And okay, I'm being a bit aggressive with it, but if you have that right there, clear as day, some people don't read, some people can't read, some people choose not to read, but just having it there, maybe that, again, continues to kind of spark conversations where it's what are we doing? What, and this is, this is, again, my kind of dream scenario, right? Where it's look, I know digital's the future. I know we're going towards it, but I think we can have kind of the best of both worlds. I think we can be aware of what's happening, but still almost be complacent where it's okay, we know, it's easier to do digital, and I get digital games all the time, right? But it's but you're aware that, things are kind of getting worse, and we don't want companies taking advantage of us. That's kind of the whole point, at least for me. But I think maybe that sparks conversation. Maybe you have a couple tens of, if you think about it, most sales are digital. So you're having tens or hundreds of thousands of people buying these games digitally. They're not buying them physically. All of those people could see, now, not all, just one state, but those people are seeing, oh yeah, we don't actually own it. Now look, it's up to the person to do whatever they want with that information. Again, most people will not even see it. Most people still will not read it. And then maybe the most people won't even care. But will it wake up a couple people? And by wake up, I'm not saying they have to convert their whole religion to all of a sudden now just buying physically, right? But just, seeing that and saying, yeah, that's kind of messed up. You know what I mean? We knew that, but now we're outright being told by state, by law, that, yeah, you don't actually own this. You thought you owned it? That's hilarious. You don't actually own it. And that's true. There's no point to even argue, with that, because you can't. How do you prove that you own something digitally? You can't. You don't actually own. It's not yours. You are renting it. No, I think that's actually what I've always said. Their line is licensing it. Mine has been renting. You are renting it for an extended period of time. It could be years. It could be 10 years. It could be 5 years. And that's a long time. But you're not you're renting it for a certain amount of time. You don't have it forever. The difference of me pulling out a PS2 game versus me showing you a PS5 game digitally is in 20 years from now, which is 40 years from the PS2, you'll still have that game. Now, it might not run the PS2. You might not be able to find a working PS2, but you'll still have that game. You show me how many PS5 digital-only games are still around 20 years from now, and I'll give you a medal, right? Because it's I just don't think there's going to be that many of them, and I think, again, can we do anything? Can I do anything? Not really. I make videos, and I like to talk. I like to hear myself talk. But there's not maybe much you can do, but we can at least know about it. We can at least talk about it. I feel it doesn't happen on a wide scale enough, and maybe something like this can help. But we'll see. It's one place. I don't know. I don't have too much faith in it, but at least it's something. Honestly, we've gotten nothing for so long. In fact, we've only been told more and more that you don't own it. We're being told to that you don't own these games now. You know what I mean? So it's about time we kind of get the reverse of that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.